Hello, and thank you to everybody for doing your best to get back here at 11:30-ish. We've had a lot to talk about this morning, and as ever at conferences, we're slightly over time, but I'm assured we're going to make up for it during the day. So it's now my pleasure to introduce Andrew Lever, who's the Director of Energy Transition at the Carbon Trust, and he's going to be talking about his Greenprint, not his blueprint, his Greenprint for accelerating an inclusive and prosperous energy transition. Andrew has been working on energy system transitions for many, many years. He directed the 2021 Flexibility in Great Britain project on the value of taking a systems approach across the heat, transport and power sectors. And he's now very much a champion of whole systems thinking and the impact it can have on the clean energy agendas. So please join me in welcoming Andrew to the stage.
Yeah, thank you, Polita. Yeah, and let me extend my kind of warm welcome to you today as well. Yeah, I was just thinking of my own kind of transition, and you mentioned having a few years in this sector so far. I actually started my career in the late 1990s, which was affectionately, I guess, known as the dash for gas in the UK. And at that point in time, of course, around about three quarters of energy supplied in the UK or generated was from coal and gas. Nuclear made up a little bit of that. Renewables was less than 5% in the late 1990s. And of course, last year, wind generation surpassed that of fossil fuels for the first time. And there's a clear target, as we've heard this morning, to get to a decarbonised power system by 2030. So over the last 25 years or so, of course, in the UK, there has been policy evolution, there's been market and regulatory change, there's been technology cost reduction and new technologies coming onto the system, and of course, coal closures. But yet there's still more to do. You know, looking at global targets to limit carbon emissions, the IEA, of course, stating that to achieve net zero by 2050, we have to phase out all unabated coal by 2040. That's just 15 years away, just 15 years away. So, and a decarbonised power system, of course, as many of you will know, sits at the heart of every single country's transition to net zero. And we collectively need to go faster to achieve these goals. So our work today spans across many different regions and countries. We work across Latin America, the Caribbean, South Africa, Central and Southeastern Asia, and of course Europe and the UK as well. And the questions that we get asked from in-country stakeholders when we're doing and engaging are things like, well, what replaces coal? How much and when? How do I maintain security of supply with renewables? How much energy storage do I need? What jobs are lost? Or what kinds of jobs are created within this energy transition? What is the investment needed to achieve the change and the pace of change required? What are the best ways to incentivize policy in the build-out of renewables in the grid? What could governments do to take the advantage of the opportunities that are ahead of them within their own power sectors? There's also natural scepticism that renewables are too expensive, and can they be reliable enough, and can they be depended upon to replace the security that people have naturally felt with fossil fuels? And whilst these questions may be similar across these regions and countries, the challenges actually look very different in different parts of the world, unsurprisingly, whether that's addressing load shedding in South Africa, meeting the winter heating requirements in Kazakhstan, or having sufficient backup power, as we heard even this morning during the El Nino phenomena in Latin America. So we need to find solutions to all of these and support countries and regions with this thinking and help them think about how they can plan and address all of these questions, as well as providing the very practical and implementable actions. So as Polita completely introduced, I am absolutely a champion of systems thinking. Renewable energy build-out, grid expansion, and coal transition are all connected, and they're all dependent on each other. Decisions taken in each one has an impact on the next. And the reality is, of course, is that energy system of the future is a much more connected one. To manage variable renewables, increasing electrification of demand, energy flexibility becomes a real critical asset to ensuring that the system is managed efficiently and therefore cost effectively. However, the system goes, of course, beyond just these technical aspects. We've got to acknowledge the fact that there are people behind this transition. There are jobs, livelihoods, there are investment needs, and of course there are supporting policies and regulations that all need to push in that same direction. So therefore, a comprehensive whole systems approach to analysing the route to decarbonising the power system is essential. But it's going to look quite different, perhaps, in different countries. At the Carbon Trust, we've got experience across multiple areas. The goal is to bring all of these things together and translating this into clear steps, what it means for people, what it means for the economy, and what obviously it means for decarbonisation. So we're introducing a new initiative, and to help bring this to life a little bit better, you'll hear from myself and some of my colleagues now in a short video. A decarbonised power system sits at the heart of every country's transition to net zero, yet we hear concerns around renewables' ability to replace fossil generation, on the economic impact of perceived higher energy costs, on the impact of jobs and livelihoods, and security of energy supply. However, by taking an integrated systems approach, decarbonisation of the power system can be achieved faster and cheaper. By systems approach, we mean bringing together renewable energy deployment, coal transition, grid expansion and operation, and acknowledging the interdependencies with socio-economic policies at a local level, demonstrating that decarbonised power is not mutually exclusive from a prosperous economy.
So to really scale up renewable energy deployment, we need to support supply chain development and really catalyse and focus on those markets. We need to focus on developing infrastructure in order to meet those needs, and we need to bring green finance into the markets to make these projects as attractive to investors and as bankable as possible. Investing in renewable energy technology isn't enough. We also need to change how we operate the entire energy system.
So each country will have a different energy transition, but common across them is that there's a need to manage low carbon system using, for example, storage, electricity storage, hydrogen storage, as well as dynamic and responsive end user demand. Governments are needing to decide where to invest in the network, how much, and when. And this allows us to start transitioning away from using fossil fuels while maintaining energy security.
This change that we're looking for in the power system is unprecedented in speed, and yet we have to recognize that coal is still an integral part to many countries' economies, so there will be broader questions. What jobs are lost? Where are the new jobs coming from?
Achieving decarbonization at the pace and scale required will pose different challenges, and having a robust framework of policies that is tailored to the local context is key for addressing this. We can help you answer questions like, what are the policies that can support communities that depend on fossil fuels? How can we incentivize the build-out of renewables and the grid? And finally, what can governments do to harness the opportunities within their power sector?
The Greenprint is an evidence-based integrated systems methodology based on locally driven insights that simultaneously consider technical, social and economic drivers. We're now calling on funders, governments and partners in the energy transition sector to join us and bring this vision to life. So we see a gap that needs addressing right now. There are numerous energy and grid targets, a lot of existing plans, but we don't feel these are comprehensive enough or even urgent enough. They often don't factor in the increasing energy flexibility requirements, grid investment and planning required. And they often don't take that systems view or provide clear, actionable steps to begin to undertake that system change at the speed in which it's required. So in response to this, we've effectively attempted to define what we can do to take, in this community, to have impact. So Greenprint is a bottom-up energy transition plan that takes a system approach to navigate the options available to decarbonise the power sector. And it sets out clear and actionable implementation plan for governments. Whilst many countries have plans, this is not true for every country. And we think there's a lot to do. So simply put, by taking a systems lens, Greenprint aims to go faster and cheaper to reach those NDC goals. So the objectives are to illustrate to countries and regions around the world what a reliable and resilient, decarbonised and cost-effective electricity system supply looks like, based on evidence, and really importantly, what are the actionable and implementable steps to achieve it. We acknowledge that each country has its own starting point, its own energy resources, its own climate and existing infrastructure, and understand, and therefore, what are the right mix of solutions that are required. We need to also determine the wider enabling factors, including supporting policies and regulations, and importantly, system operation that's required to operate that future system. A key objective is to lay out the broader socio-economic case for the transition. What does this mean for jobs? What does it mean for livelihoods, investment, and importantly, of course, energy costs? So Greenprint effectively brings all of these factors together to outline the opportunity that the energy transition represents for its people and its economy, and shifting the narrative to one of prosperity and not cost. So where are we now? Well, we're looking to undertake a detailed assessment in a target country or indeed countries. Step one, we build upon existing modelling to ensure that a systems approach has been followed, with a particular emphasis on the role that energy flexibility can do to do things faster and cheaper. We need to understand the economic opportunities and the risks of decarbonising an electricity sector. These are critical. And here we estimate the costs and the savings of transitioning, including jobs created, investment requirements, and resultant energy costs. This then, of course, flows into a comprehensive set of policy and regulatory insights and recommendations, which, of course, then therefore build confidence in investment and the steps to take. And having that implementation plan at the end is crucial because it ensures the strategic analysis and goals are translated into those actionable steps. This is about an operational blueprint, a greenprint for a clear roadmap to achieving those desired outcomes efficiently and effectively. And critically, it's a bottom-up approach. It's driven in partnership with governments, collaboration with local partners. So I guess I close by giving you all the call to action. How can we bring this vision to life? So we're looking for funders to support and shape Greenprint to align and accelerate their own decarbonisation goals and objectives. We're looking for governments who are willing to go on this journey together and navigate their own energy transition faster and cheaper. As this is a bottom-up initiative, of course, we're looking for partners, and in particular, on the ground, national, local partners who will be very well placed and invaluable to bring data, insights and connections. And we're also looking for you today, for feedback on this initiative. All of the panel sessions today touch upon aspects of this energy transition, the challenges as well as the solutions. And this is why, effectively, we are embarking on Greenprint. Thank you.